So 1 year ago, the Nintendo Switch 2 released. I cannot believe it's been that long. I remember back when tons of rumors and leaks were coming out about it. I remember seeing all those images and just like waiting for Nintendo to actually make the official announcement. But it felt like forever, like before that happened. But once the Switch 2 released, it feels like time has gone by really quickly. But today, Demeech and I are going to discuss the first year of the Nintendo Switch 2, between the game releases, some of the criticisms that we have, some of the controversy that has went on, and also the hardware as well. There's quite a lot to talk about, because even though this year went by really quickly, this was quite eventful, I would say. I actually thought it was just as eventful as 2017, even though there weren't as many heavy hitters in terms of games. I feel like the quality of games and things releasing matched 2017, in my opinion. It was a pretty good year, honestly. There were some lows, of course, and, I do agree with a lot of the criticisms that happened, but, at the same time, I do feel like there were a lot of great games, and I feel like I've been having a pretty fun time with the Nintendo Switch 2. I definitely don't have buyer's remorse.
Buyer's remorse! Ultimate buyer's remorse! Yeah, I gotta say, not only is it hard to believe that it's already been a year since the Switch 2 launched, but when the Switch 2 actually released, I don't think I've ever had a feeling of, at last, more than ever, because with the Switch, that lasted a very long time. And by the end of its life cycle, Nintendo's own games like Echoes of Wisdom and even Brothership were starting to struggle. So it felt like it's not a matter of when. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
Yeah.
And then the Switch 2 finally released. It's a very interesting system Nintendo standards-wise because it is an iteration of the Switch. It's just a lot more powerful. And that power increase is a lot more significant than it gets credit for. But wow. With all the leaks, rumors, stuff like that, no one was surprised that it was happening, but I can certainly say all of the discussion around it and some of the games have certainly been surprising.
Yeah. So let's get into the first-party releases here. There were actually quite a lot, and we are going to include a couple Switch 1 games that are technically Switch 2 games. We're not going to spend too long talking about each of these because we've already extensively covered, a lot of these games. Not all of them, but, quite a lot of them. But I think it's worth going back and looking through this year, and also maybe comparing it to 2017 a little bit, whether we think it's better or worse or the same. I know I'd mentioned that it was, in my opinion, the year in general was about the same, but, in terms of the game library, we're going to discuss that in a little bit. But the first game, the game that the system launched with and also had a bundle for, was pretty interesting, to say the least. So this was the poster child for a lot of the controversy of the Switch 2, for a very good reason, because it was the first modern game to release for $80. And that is Mario Kart World, or as we like to call it, French fries!
French fries! But I wonder if French fries are still good a year later. They're probably so cold they're like the Arctic.
But yeah, Mario Kart World, it's you hear quite a lot about this game, but what do we think? We actually quite like it. It's a very fun game. I wouldn't say it's as good as 8 Deluxe, because, 8 Deluxe, it's kind of hard to compete against that game, because that has 96 tracks now with the Booster Course Pass. But at first, with Mario Kart World, I was I enjoyed it, I really liked it, but, I did feel like there were some flaws, but I feel like over time, the game has kind of grown on me, and I really like a lot of its elements. I actually really love the fact that it's in one big open world. I love the fact that it has, Knockout Tour and everything. And even though the connector tracks are, a bit boring sometimes, I mostly just play in friend rooms anyway, where we just select the actual tracks. And just the game in general is very fun, and I would say it's basically gonna be my go-to Mario Kart game for, the next few years, I would say. It pretty much replaced Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, even, despite all of the controversy and everything with this game. I don't really care about that now. I think this game, I'm never going back to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe after this. I've been playing that game for way too long. Mario Kart World is a pretty fun game, and I would actually say it's my second favorite game in the series. It has a lot of great elements, but just like a few flaws here and there. I would say the game is probably like an 8.5 out of 10 for me. I'm really enjoying it.
I will say with Mario Kart World, with a lot of the criticisms, such as with the pathways and such, you know, in my review that I did of it, I went over everything, and I was looking at it from a critical perspective, but from my own personal enjoyment, I've just been really enjoying Mario Kart World. I was a little iffy about it at first, but then just the more I played it, the more I ended up loving the game. And one reason because of this is also because I've been playing Sonic Racing Cross Worlds, and that feels more like a successor to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe in sense of, you know, there's a lot of tracks, well, I think there might be less than Mario Kart World, but there's a lot of characters, mechanics, it's fast-paced. With Mario Kart World, it's different. It's unlike any other Mario Kart game. And you know what? Even though there are issues like the pathways, I'll take those issues. You know why? Because they took a risk and were willing to do something new. Sure, it didn't work out all the time, but the thing is, the pathways, it's just like only an issue if you play with random tracks online.
Yeah.
If you just play with friends online or not co-op, just in person, it's like that won't be a problem. Though I can understand how it was a stupid change and Nintendo never should have done that. But it's like, there's a solution to it, so I'll just play the game with my friends and enjoy it that way. I didn't really play the online lobbies anyway.
Yeah.
So overall, I've really been loving Mario Kart World. I can acknowledge its flaws, but I gotta say, it's a game I'm gonna continue playing for years to come. It might end up being my favorite Mario Kart game, but if there's one thing I will say, I think it is a missed opportunity that Nintendo didn't regularly update the game.
Yeah.
Sonic Racing Cross Worlds has pretty frequent events, and they're exciting, give you a reason to go back to the game. But with Mario Kart World, they haven't done that. We get a few updates that are shadow drop, but nothing major. And with Mario Kart World, really the only problem I have with the game is just I feel like 30 tracks is just too low because I love to play the game all the time.
Yeah.
And I just want there to be more tracks.
Oh,
30
yeah.
is pretty low.
Yeah, I would say I feel like we're probably going to get new content at some point. Like, I think they're just waiting a bit, like, for, like, some gap between releases to, like, maybe do some DLC or, like, some kind of update or something. I think there's probably one going to happen soon. Like, I know they added the game to Nintendo Music, and they didn't add all the tracks. Like, the last time, well, they've done that with a few games like Splatoon as well, but, like, I know with, Kirby, they added only some of the soundtrack, and then they ended up doing Starcross World. So I'm wondering if they are planning on doing something for Mario Kart World soon. With all the rumors about, like, a direct or something happening soon, I could definitely see them using that opportunity to reveal some new content in different things, because I think they're going to do it eventually. They did new content for 8 on the Wii U, they did new content for 8 Deluxe. I think it's very likely that they'll do new content for World at some point. Like, even if we have to wait a little longer, I think it's probably going to happen fairly soon. And, like, I just think it just makes a lot of sense, honestly. This seems like a game that Nintendo would want to put more into and kind of extend the life of. So I could see that happening, honestly.
Yeah, I could see that happening too. Just odd Nintendo wouldn't capitalize on the game when it was brand new. It's just weird how they handled it, but Nintendo's a very weird company. But
Yeah.
another thing that they released on launch day is Welcome Tour. I did not buy the game.
Me neither.
This should have come with the system.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, the funny thing is, like, I was, like, listening to, like, Kit and Krista's podcast earlier, and they were saying, like, oh, yeah, like, a lot of people have the idea that it should have came with the system, but even if it did, who would have played it? It's just boring. Like, they just said it was such a boring game that, like, why even bother with it? Like, maybe, like, have it as, like, a free download on the eShop or something like that. $10 is just insane, but, like, it's like, I feel like either way how this game would have released, like, probably no one really would have played it, because it's, like, like, from what they said, it was basically just, like, a interactive instruction manual.
Yeah, that's pretty much all it is. But the good news is we wouldn't have to wait much longer for peak gaming, because shortly after the Switch 2 released, we got what is perhaps the greatest game of all time, Donkey Kong Bonanza.
Oh yeah.
Ooh, boy!
Yeah,
There is a lot to talk about here.
this game is absolutely incredible. Like, it topped Odyssey as, like, well, my second favorite game of all time, but I don't need to mention what my number one is. You probably all, most people could probably already tell, but it's one of my favorite games of all time. Just, like, the whole idea of, like, having a massive, destructible environment with a similar kind of exploration to Mario Odyssey, but kind of expanding upon that, having a different moveset, a bigger scale to, like, each of the worlds, and so much world building within these layers as well. I like how there's, like, different animals and the fractones and different things. It's like, it is such an incredible game. I feel like EPD Tokyo definitely cooked with this one, and it just feels perfect. It's like everything that I could have possibly wanted, and more, for a 3D Donkey Kong game. It just goes well beyond what we expected. And this is definitely going to go down as, like, a Nintendo classic, I would say. Like, many years from now, we'll look back on the Switch 2, and I feel like Bonanza will definitely be one of the, like those top best games on the system. And I feel like, just like Odyssey, it's probably going to, like, remain, like, one of my absolute favorites on the system throughout the lifespan of the Switch 2. So, it's just an amazing game. And also, the game has been out for a while, so I think we're comfortable with mentioning this aspect of it, even if it's a bit spoilery, but it also brought back the legend, the king himself, King K. Rool. Just absolutely incredible there. Like, I am so glad that he's back. Like, I'm so glad that they, like, updated his design and, like, kind of brought him fully into HD. I know he was in Smash Ultimate, but, like, fully into a mainline Donkey Kong game after, like, 20 plus years. And they brought him back in the best way possible, too. Like, at the ending of the game, there were even neon signs lighting up saying, like, K. Rool is back, or, like, it was just absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I gotta say, that ending was the best ending to any Nintendo game I've ever played. But the whole game itself, it has become my favorite game of all time. Almost a year later, I am confident in saying that. I was confident even it was a few weeks after the game released. But it is Super Mario Odyssey, but even better. Just destructing everything in the environment is so much fun and it's so satisfying. There are so many layers to explore. The amount of content in the game surprised me. I expected there to be, like, a good amount of content, but the game just provided more. And that's just, like, what Bonanza is. It's just the game that keeps on giving. Every aspect about it is, like, better than usual when it comes to Nintendo games. It doesn't even falter to a lot of the pitfalls other Nintendo games have. Like, with the difficulty, you get to choose your own difficulty using the skill tree.
Oh,
and
yeah.
you pretty much get to set it to whatever you want. So, I didn't find the game to be too easy. I felt that the skill tree is an excellent addition, and I think Nintendo should do that for handling difficulty forward.
Yeah.
But overall, I love Donkey Kong Bonanza, and it is one of the best series revivals I've ever seen. I will say this about the Switch 2, it is so nice that we got my most wanted games immediately. A new Mario Kart game and a new Donkey Kong game. And I'm very happy with them. I gotta say, Bonanza is my favorite game, but even Mario Kart World with its flaws, I'm very happy with how both games turned out.
Yeah, I would say, like, it was it definitely paid off. Like, they were definitely worth it, I would say. And it's just, like, I've just been having such a fun time with both of these games, especially Bonanza. But after Bonanza, there was, like, a little bit of, like, a wait between, like, the next games, and we did get Dragon Drive, which was a cool idea. Like, I like the fact that you could use, like, two mouse mode Joy-Cons at once. That was pretty cool. But at the same time, and also, like, I like the concept of it as well. It's kind of like a take on wheelchair basketball, but it was just kind of okay. Like, it wasn't bad, and it wasn't amazing. It was just kind of there. Like, it didn't really have much, like, in terms of, like, visuals. It kind of felt a bit soulless, and it didn't really have much variety. You really only had that one area that you played in. At least you could play with CPUs offline, so the game is preserved in that way. I was a bit worried if it was going to be like online only, but thankfully not. And there are the mini games as well. But it's just like there isn't that much to do. I wish they could have fleshed it out a little more by like either adding new modes, more customization for your characters, more areas. Like, I think it would have been cool if there was like maybe a beach-themed area or one that took place in like the streets of a city or like in the jungle or something like that. Some like cool locations and things like that. They could have made this the next ARMS. But I know saying the next ARMS isn't exactly like a great thing, because ARMS didn't exactly like shatter any records, but I don't really care about sales that much anyway. I would have liked an experience as good as ARMS. That's really what I'm saying here. So I just wish there was a bit more to this.
Yeah, I feel like that's the main problem with it. It just doesn't have any love, charm, or passion with the art style. It's just like gray, boring looking. It doesn't look like a Nintendo game. And no matter how Nintendo the mechanics are, because I did find them to be cool and an excellent use of the mouse controls, it's just boring to look at and just has no personality. This is really a case where, if this were a restaurant, it would definitely be in need of some atmosphere.
Yeah. And next, we have Pokemon Legends Zaza. I think I'll let you talk about this one, Dimitri.
Ah yes, Pokemon Legends Zaza. So the thing about the game is that when you open it up, it reeks. Like, opening the case, you just get this pungent smell, and when you go to put it in your Switch, everything just slows down and Amy Schumer becomes funny. Oh, you were talking about that shitty Pokemon game? Oh yeah, that happened.
But yeah, I think that's all we need to say about Pokemon Legends Zaza. Let's move on to Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment. I thought this game was pretty fun. I actually haven't fully finished it, but from what I've played of it, I do like the story. It's not as interesting as I was expecting, but it is a fun little warrior-style game. Like, just like a game that if I just want to relax, I could just slash through a bunch of enemies. It actually runs well. I think it's actually 60 FPS, which is pretty good, pretty impressive for a Warriors game, like on a Nintendo system. So I don't have too much to say about it, but I think this is like going to be the last Breath of the Wild style game we're ever going to get. So it's pretty interesting in that regard, but I thought it was pretty fun. And next, we have another game that's one of my all-time favorites, alongside Donkey Kong Bonanza, and a game that I've basically been playing non-stop since November. Kirby Air Riders. This game is absolutely incredible, and is honestly one of Sakurai's best games. I honestly even like it more than Smash Ultimate, but that's probably because I'm kind of burnt out from Smash Ultimate. But still, Kirby Air Riders is excellently designed. CD Trial is very fun and addicting. There's a ton of content here. The story mode is excellent as well. I love the fact that there's a lot of references to across the Kirby franchise, kind of in line with modern Kirby. I'm glad that Sakurai kind of went all out here in terms of like representing Kirby's history. The soundtrack is incredible. Like, I know Shogo Sakai was one of the composers. It is just such a fun game. I love to stream it. And I know it is a bit more niche than other games, though I would say it isn't quite as niche as some people are saying it is. Like, it is selling fairly well, and Kirby is like a pretty well-known franchise, but it is like a bit more niche than something like Mario Kart World or Donkey Kong Bonanza, but it is really fun, and I feel like more people definitely need to play this game. It's just incredible, like, all around, and I have really been enjoying this.
Some of my favorite times towards the end of the year were when we were playing Kirby Air Riders. Like, we would play that almost every night, like, during the Christmas break. It is such a fun game, and although it's a little bit complex if you're just getting into it, it's so rewarding to learn the mechanics. And I gotta say, I also prefer it over Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. I just think the gameplay, I just like it more. And all the Kirby characters in it, I mean, Kirby is Sakurai's baby. But at the same time, DeRoach is playable!
You're sleeping with the rats tonight. And I'm
We'll be sleeping with the roaches tonight.
Yep. And it also has my boy Magalore as well. So we can all play as like our favorite Kirby characters as well, except for Adeline and Ribbon. I wish they were in the game too. But still, an excellent roster. And I love the fact that they're also making amiibos for it as well. I know they're insanely expensive. That kind of sucks, but like the amiibo figures are just really cool in general, like the concept of them, of like actually like swapping the figures out. I wish they were reasonably priced, but it still is a cool idea, and I like the fact that they're making ones based on the legendary machines as well. So I really like the way they handled this game. It feels like the perfect sequel to one of the most underrated GameCube games.
Yeah. Air Riders, it is a little more niche, but that does not mean that the quality is lower. It's such a great game, and I recommend it to any Switch 2 owner. And that was also the first game I played on the Switch 2 that made me really realize this is next gen. When I was playing through the game, through Crystal Caverns, that scene was insane. Like, that's when I knew this would not be possible on Switch 1.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I would say, like, the Galactic Nova stage is really the one where I was like, that really blew me away in terms of, like, graphics and things. So, just an excellent game all around. But after that, we got one that is not so excellent. One game that we have been waiting for nearly a decade that was just kind of confusing. And, like, like, at first I wanted to like it, but it just ended up kind of getting a bit boring and just too convoluted and messy, I would say. And that is Metroid Prime 4. And I would say Miles McKenzie is absolutely the best part of the game, one of the best Nintendo characters of all time. So
He's you!
Yes. So I no disrespect to Miles McKenzie there, but Metroid Prime 4 is just kind of like the way it was designed. It's like too linear, but like also they didn't really know like what exactly they were doing here. Like there's like a lot of backtracking in some sections. There's that wide open desert area, which I feel like is kind of pointless. You have to go around collecting the green crystal things. And I mean, like, don't get me wrong, I think there is a semblance of a great game here. Like, it feels like if things were handled differently, this could have been an all-time classic. Like, the visuals look amazing. I really like how the, like, Euros looks here. And, like, all the different locations. And, like, the enemy designs. Even the combat and the boss fights are good. But the way everything was stitched together just feels just way too linear, as well as kind of being messy at the same time. It's kind of hard to describe, but it doesn't really feel like a very cohesive experience. And it was just kind of a slog, honestly. So, like, I'm just kind of disappointed by it. And, like, I feel like if they handled it differently, it could have been a lot better.
Yeah. Where'd I even start? I think the best thing to say about Metroid Prime 4 Beyond is that it had a very, very messy development. And what I can tell from this game is that the original project was handed over to Retro and they were told, okay, fix this. It's gotta come out sometime, we already promised it. Nintendo really should have been like, I never promised you anything, and then just made everyone forget about Metroid Prime 4. So then we heard nothing about the game for years. And then, as the Switch was approaching the end, we finally heard about it. And we just pretty much heard about it. Nintendo didn't really market it.
Yeah.
This is a game they had no confidence in. This is something that feels like they released out of obligation, and not that they actually wanted to make the game.
Yeah.
What I played of it, it feels very outdated. Like, there are a lack of quality of life improvements that I would expect in a 2025 game. Like, at, latest, it feels like a 2016 game. Yeah, the graphics can be nice. I think they do look good. I think the frame rate in 120 frames per second is also pretty nice. But it's just like, it is fascinating seeing how messy it is. But I feel so bad for Metroid fans. Because really, there were only two things done with this game. There were only two directions. Salvage what Bandai Namco Singapore did, and make sure you follow Tanabe's vision, because this is his swan song, and what a perfect way to leave Nintendo than with
Yeah.
Metroid Prime 4 Beyond.
Yeah, the final Tanabe touch, and it's just like very symbolic of like a lot of his later projects, I would say. But it's like it seems like the retro that developed Metroid Prime 4 is not the same retro that developed the older Metroid Prime games. Like there's like quite a lot of new people, and I mean like it's not like a newer, refreshed team can't make a proper successor to the older Metroid Prime games. I mean, we've seen plenty of studios that have like completely new developers that absolutely nail some series and some sequels, but I think it's just a combination of a lot of factors that led to Metroid Prime 4 being the way that it was. But I feel like we've talked about enough about Metroid Prime 4, so I want to talk about...
I want to say one more thing about it before going on. The thing with the game is that it's not atrocious. It's not like a horrible, buggy, broken game. I wouldn't even say it's a bad game. It's just, when you balance everything out, it just is painfully mediocre. And by Metroid Prime standards, and after not getting an entry for almost 20 years, painfully mediocre is devastating.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is.
Just play, like, I would say, if you're looking to get into Metroid, just play Dread and Prime 1 Remastered. Like you'll probably have a much better experience with those. But moving on, we basically have the next game that is pretty much the opposite of Metroid Prime 4. Like, going into it, we were a bit concerned about how this game would turn out, considering the previous games. Since the Mario Sports series did not have the best reputation during the Switch 1 era. I mean, if anyone knew, it would be Dimitri, but Mario Tennis Fever ended up being surprisingly good. It had a roster with quite a lot of characters, like nearly 40 characters, quite a lot of stages, and a lot of modes and interesting things to do, an interesting new mechanic, and I feel like it was just as fun and engaging as Ace's in terms of its gameplay. So I feel like this was the best Mario Sports game in years. It really felt like it was on that standard of quality of like the 2000s Mario Sports game. I feel like this was absolutely at the same level of quality as Mario Power Tennis and Mario Tennis 64. I mean, sure, it didn't have like a RPG like story mode or like a fleshed out story mode like the Game Boy Color and Game Boy Advance game, but at the same time, I don't think we necessarily needed that much. I mean, it would be cool, but I think the other modes that we have here kind of like balance it out. But it is $70, which is a hard pill to swallow for a lot of people. I really feel like it should have been $50 or $60, but just like looking at the game itself and like kind of considering its quality, it was pretty good. Especially for modern Mario Sports standards. I would say for Mario Sports standards in general, it was pretty good. I would say it's probably up there as one of my new favorite Mario Sports games, like alongside Mario Strikers Charged and Mario Golf World Tour. Like, it was really good.
Yeah, I will say about Mario Tennis Fever, sure the game is $70, and it is like too much for what the game is, but I gotta say, this game has none of the pitfalls the Switch Mario Sports games have. It has an excellent roster of characters, a ton of content, wacky and fun Mario modes. I even like the adventure mode to an extent. Sure, the first half felt like a tutorial, but the second half was really good, and I wasn't even expecting much out of it, because everything else the game did was just excellent, and that's what I expect from like a console Mario Sports game. I would like if they actually included the RPG story modes from the Game Boy games. That would be really cool. It doesn't seem like they have much of an interest doing it, and the core focus is mostly like multiplayer mechanics. And this game and its Fever rackets are just so much fun. All the combinations, if you get 2 of them, you could make some really hectic tennis matches. I like to use the Inky racket, the spiny one, Firebar, just anything to annoy the hell out of my friends.
Yeah.
And it is so much fun. I will say this, for me it's just been a little harder to make videos recently because I've also been making controllers on Etsy, and also life's gotten in the way. But I've really wanted to make a full video about this game because it's such a great game, but it's gotten dismissed because, yeah, it's expensive, but hey, you could get it for less than $70. Costco, I've seen it for 40. So you can get a deal on it if you want to. And I gotta say, at 40, hot buttered popcorn, that's a deal. It's a no-brainer, and I can say with confidence that it's my favorite Mario Tennis game, and one of my top 5 favorite Mario sports games.
Yeah.
This was an excellent surprise.
Oh, and
not only was it better than I expected, it is a treasure. It's great.
Don't forget the most important thing about the game. It introduced Baby Waluigi. Absolutely incredible.
He crawls funny.
Yeah. I hope Baby Waluigi is a mainstay from here on out, because he's the one new baby character that I don't mind, because he's so ridiculous and unhinged. I just think it's funny at that point. Like, put him in Mario Kart
but
World.
Guess what? Yes, actually put Baby Wario and Waluigi in Mario Kart World. The thing is, he also has a backstory. Baby Rosalina and Baby Daisy appeared out of nowhere, but there's a reason why Waluigi turned into a baby. And I will say, I won't spoil the boss for this because it's relatively new, but the final boss of the adventure mode in this game is insane.
Yeah,
not at all what I was expecting.
I have seen it, but I haven't finished the game. I did spoil myself because I didn't really care too much, but yeah, it does look pretty insane for what I've seen. But moving on,
it feels straight off a bootleg Mario game.
Yeah. But moving on, we have a game that we were not expecting to be as good as it was. We haven't played it yet, but from what we've heard about Pokopia, it actually ended up being pretty good, and I kind of want to play it at some point. It was a key card, which really sucks, and I don't know why they decided to make it a key card, because it was developed by the same team at Koei Tecmo that developed Age of Imprisonment, and that was actually on the cartridge. So it was really weird that Pokopia was on a key card. I don't know if they were like testing the waters or whatever, but if I do end up getting it, I'm just gonna get it digitally. But it looks pretty interesting. It kind of like, I know like I was a bit critical of like the idea of it like being similar to like Animal Crossing and Dragon Quest Builders, but it looks like there's like a lot of flexibility in this game, and I think the ideas are pretty cool, and I kind of understand like why it did as well as it did. It does look like a game that I could like sink a bit of time into, because I do like those creative type games. So yeah, it's kind of refreshing that Pokemon actually released something that was kind of good. So I might check it out.
I might check it out too. The only issue is that it's on a game key card, and I don't know, I don't really want to get a game key card regardless of what the game is. I could get it digitally, but that means I really have to pay full price for it. There have just been too many other games I've been interested in, so I skipped this one out, but I'd definitely like to check it out at some point.
Yeah, I think I'm probably gonna get it like sometime like later this year, like maybe like during August or something. If there's like no games releasing, I might like do like a couple streams of it or something, because it does look like a game that like I would probably enjoy, because I do like those kind of Minecraft, Animal Crossing, Dragon Quest Builders-esque games. So I think I'm gonna check it out at some point. But the final game of the like first party game of the first year of the Switch 2 was surprisingly good, and was not like, it was a lot better than we were expecting. And that's Yoshi in the Mysterious Book. Like, both of us really enjoyed Goodfield's other Yoshi games, even Crafted World. Like, we're actually like two of like Crafted World's strongest soldiers, like the biggest defenders of that game. Like, we actually thought it was pretty good. But Mysterious Book, at first, we thought it was gonna suffer some of the same issues as Peach Showtime and not really have a clear direction, be like a little too oriented towards kids, and be kind of boring and slow. Like, I was a bit worried about that, because the trailers did not do a good job at showcasing this game. But when I actually played it, I really enjoyed it, because it's basically a spiritual successor to Yoshi's Story and more. It kind of feels like a 2D version of a collectathon, almost like Mario 64, or I would say, Demet, you actually told me this, but it's kind of like Super Mario 63, the Flash game, that's kind of like similar to Mario 64, but in 2D. It also has Flood as well. So it's like, it really feels like that. Like, I really like exploring all of these, like, different creatures and, like, seeing what they can do. It's just such an interesting idea, and it works so well within the Yoshi style and the Yoshi gameplay. It's like, I would say it's definitely becoming one of my favorite Yoshi games. It hasn't topped the original Yoshi's Island on SNES, but it is pretty good, and I would say it's actually my favorite in the Good Feel trilogy.
Yeah, I gotta say that Yoshi and the Mysterious Book, that was another game that was way better than I ever expected. Yeah, you're right about the marketing for the game, where I couldn't really, like, gather what kind of game it was, but some games, kind of like Rhythm Heaven, you just gotta play for yourself to, like, get the full experience. It is pretty much like Super Mario 63, where it's a 2D platformer that plays like a 3D platformer, where there are lots of objectives, missions to do, and you know what? It's like, this is so cool because we already get a lot of 2D platformers that are from point A to point B. And the last Yoshi game was like that, even though there were elements of like throwing eggs into the foreground and background, there are a lot of collectibles. But now that they went fully the collectathon route, it's really refreshing and new, and it's just such a cool game. And I'm not going to spoil any bosses or anything, but just the game has like a lot of cool surprises you would not expect.
Yeah.
You know, I was a little bit annoyed when I got this game at first because I couldn't get the $10 off because I didn't pre-order it. But I don't even mind now because it's such a good game. I didn't even think about it.
Yeah, I would say this game was definitely an unexpected gem. And we're gonna get into this in a little bit, but I feel like over this first year of the Switch 2, there have been quite a lot of unexpected hits for us. Like, there's quite a lot of games that we didn't think were gonna be good that ended up being really good. And then other games, or, well, one game that we expected to be great that wasn't very good with Metroid Prime 4, but it's like, we'll get into that in a little bit, but it feels like this first year had a lot of surprisingly good games. But we also had some Nintendo Switch 2 editions as well, and we're not really going to talk about this too much since most of them are just upgraded Switch 1 games, but some of them did have some extra content in them as well. Some of them were pretty disappointing, like Super Mario Party Jamboree plus Jamboree TV. Like, Jamboree was a great Mario Party game. I would actually say it's my favorite Mario Party game now, so I was expecting, like, new content for it to actually have, like, more boards. It did have new mini-games, but I was expecting, like, even more than what we got, but that was, like, really disappointing. Starcross World, though, was actually pretty fun, and actually had some, like, pretty good levels in there as well. And then, I would say my favorite out of all of the Switch 2 editions, Mario Wonders Meet Up in Bellabelle Park. It felt like the multiplayer expansion that this game needed, and it had some of the best boss fights that we've ever seen in a 2D Mario game, with the, like, revamped Koopaling boss fights. That was just really fun overall, so I feel like Switch 2 editions, I feel like they're kind of a mixed bag. Some of them are really good, and some of them are just, like, an upgrade with just, like, a little tiny bit of extra content.
Yeah, with Super Mario Bros. Wonder, the Switch 2 edition for that game, I feel is the only one that's absolutely worth getting, no questions. Because not only is the multiplayer expansion great, and did they add bosses, they fixed all the problems with Mario Wonder and they went overkill. Like, sure, it needed modes. Here's a ton of them. It needed bosses. Here are the best bosses in 2D Mario.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely worth getting, and I was very happy with it. And the challenges, too.
Yeah!
The other Switch 2 editions, even Kirby Starcross World, I felt was too short.
Yeah. I would say, though, Starcross World was very high quality, despite being a bit too short. But all of the others,
I agree.
But, like, Xenoblade X, that didn't add any new content, but for some reason, it runs really weirdly. Or it's not like it runs really weirdly. They kind of, like, messed up the textures and how the game, like, looked, or, like, the upscaling or something like that, which was just kind of disappointing, because I really like Xenoblade X. And they haven't released a patch for that yet, either. So, that's just a really weird situation,
really weird.
too. So, I do think most Switch 2 editions are either just going to be like a harmless upgrade or like something actually like kind of fun, like Mario Wonder or Star-Crossed World, but I do think there is a chance sometimes, and I think it kind of depends on the developer too, that we might get like some weird ones here and there, so I don't know. I think a lot of this comes down to the developer. Like with Mario Parties, I think that was just Nintendo Cube being weird, how they are sometimes. And I don't even know what happened with Xenoblade, but I certainly hope that isn't indicative of anything that Monolith Soft is doing. I don't think it is. I think that was just rushed. But yeah, it's just Switch 2 editions have just been kind of weird. But I also wanted to get into some of the third-party and indie games on the Switch 2, as there have been quite a lot released over this first year. I would say this is some of the best third-party support we've been getting on a Nintendo console in years. In decades, I would say. Like, on the Switch 1, I mean, sure, we did get a decent amount of, like, impossible ports, but the ports aren't even impossible anymore. The Switch 2 is powerful enough to run these games. So, it's really refreshing seeing a Nintendo console with a lot of current or modern games. Some of them are a few years old, but we have been seeing, like, a lot of, like, day-and-date releases, like, with, like, Resident Evil and, like, Pragmata, or in some other games like that. But I wanted to get into some of the ones that, like, both I and Demich have been playing, but Cyberpunk 2077, absolutely incredible. I really like the Phantom Liberty DLC as well. Runs really well on the Switch 2, and just an amazing game overall. I know originally it had a ton of issues, like back when it originally launched in 2020, but it's pretty good now. They definitely fixed up most of its issues. Fast Fusion is very underrated. I actually got a review copy of that game, and it is such an underrated indie game. And it like makes use of like the Switch 2's power as well, and looks really nice. And it has game share support as well. So, haven't you played Fast Fusion, Demich?
Yeah, I played Fast Fusion. I got I got the review code for it, and it's a lot of fun. While it isn't quite F-Zero quality because I like the characters and such, it is a lot of fun, and it's a great showcase of the graphics of the system. So that's one I had fun with. But in terms of third-party games, mostly what I've been playing is Pac-Man World 2 Repack, which is an excellent remake of Pac-Man World 2. It adds a lot of new content, quality of life improvements, the graphics are excellent. SpongeBob Titans, it's a great game. I'll never forget the moment in the game where Patrick was riding an ice cream elephant, and buff SpongeBob just smashed through the wall, like the Kool-Aid Man. Oh yeah! Oh wait, I was thinking about Super Mario Titans. No, SpongeBob Titans of the Tide was another pleasant surprise where the game was a lot better than I expected.
Oh, yeah.
And I gotta say, I'm a huge fan of it.
Yeah.
Hades 2 I also played a little bit of, but the one I played the most out of third-party games is Sonic Racing Cross Worlds. This game has no right to be as good as it is, and as a Mario Kart fan, I am shocked with just how incredible this game is. It's got the fast-paced gameplay that you would expect for F-Zero or something like that, but it's like a kart racer. There's a lot of skill involved, more so than luck in Mario Kart, and that's one of the reasons why I like it. It's not even so much the crossover aspect, but that is cool too. It's just like, the right opinion to have is not, oh, Sonic Racing Cross Worlds is better. Just play both Mario Kart World and Sonic Racing Cross Worlds and you'll have two cakes.
Yeah. And some other, like, both indie and third-party games I've been playing. Street Fighter 6, I haven't played that much of it, but it's pretty fun from what I've played. And it looks really good on the Switch 2 as well. And it's nice to have that game portably. It seems like it's definitely a good fit for being on a Nintendo console, considering how, like, Street Fighter games have been on Nintendo consoles, like, for well over 30 years now. So it definitely feels right at home. And that game has some interesting DLC and crossovers as well. And then I've been playing a decent amount of Mouse PI for Hire lately. That game is really fun. It's almost kind of like Doom in the way that it's like designed. It's kind of like a boomer shooter, and it's like has a like classic 1930s cartoon style to it. It almost looks like those old like Mickey Mouse cartoons, like Steamboat Willie and some of like the other ones. It has like such a cool style to it. I'm kind of comparable to Cuphead a little bit, but like a little different as well. It kind of goes more for like that Mickey Mouse-esque style, but it looks really nice. Like it's like fully black and white, which is pretty cool as well. You could even like change the settings to have like film grain or like kind of like a little bit of blur, or like kind of make it look, even like you can even adjust the audio as well to like make it sound like it's like either on like a vinyl record or like one of those like even older like ways of like playing. I forgot what it's called, but like those like cylinder things of like it's like you can make it sound like that as well. It's like it looks really nice, and it's just really fun too to just blast through a bunch of these like cartoony mouse characters. It is really fun. And I've also been playing Indiana Jones and the Great Circle lately, and that is another game that's really impressive on the Switch too. Like, and it's really fun. It almost feels like you're playing an Indiana Jones movie. It takes place within the era of like the classic movies. And like the story is really fun and interesting. There's like a lot of interesting places to explore, like the Vatican or Egypt. And at the beginning of the game, it even recreates like one of the scenes in Raiders of the Lost Ark. So there's quite a lot to the game. The like sneaking around and like going through the stealth sections are fun, or like solving puzzles and like the dungeons and like kind of different crypts and areas that you go through, or like even dodging some of the obstacles and things. It is such a fun game, and I am really enjoying it so far. Definitely like one of the third-party games that I highly recommend alongside Cyberpunk. So I've definitely been enjoying the third-party output on the Switch 2 so far. I would say this is definitely the best third-party support we have gotten on a Nintendo console in quite a long time. I would say probably like since the GameCube. Because like the Wii and the Wii U, like in like the Switch as well, they were kind of like compromised a lot of the time. And I mean, yeah. But like the Switch 2, like even though it may not be as powerful as a PS5 or Xbox Series S, it still is very capable of running most of these games, and they look good too. So it's really nice to have such a strong lineup on this console.
Yeah, I agree with you there. That's the thing. With the power of the Switch too, all of the third-party ports that I've played, they don't feel compromised at all. If there's any compromise, maybe a little bit of graphical fidelity, but it's like 95% as good as like PS5. And let me tell you this, would like 95% as good be worth the trade-off of portability? That's also something to keep in mind, because this is a portable system. So the fact that it's about as powerful as a Series S, that's really impressive.
Yeah, and it's basically a tablet too. Like it like, even though it is big, a lot bigger than the Switch 1, in the grand scheme of things, and compared to most consoles, it is tiny. So the fact that it is able to run these modern games and actually run them well is pretty impressive. So it's really nice to have like a lot of this third-party support here. But we've talked about the games. The game lineup is pretty good, but we wanted to get into a lot of the kind of murky, weirder, not quite as fun stuff about the Switch 2 era, and that is either our criticisms or all of the controversy surrounding the console and the discourse, which, I mean, we've kind of had some change, like our opinions have kind of like changed on that over time. But one thing that we're definitely critical of is game key cards. And yeah, they kind of suck. It really sucks to see a lot of like new third-party games be released on the Switch 2, but just as key cards. It really, like, I really like to have like a shelf full of like actual games and just be able to put in the cartridge without having to download anything or like have any storage taking up space on my Switch 2. So game key cards, it's really the worst of both worlds in terms of like both the inconvenience of physical copies and the inconvenience of digital with it having to take up space. And I mean, the the amount of storage that these games take up on the Switch 2 is insane. Like, I mean, like modern consoles in general. Like, some of these are upwards of like 70 to 100 gigabytes. Like, it just kind of sucks to have to download it and keep it on your, like, micro SD Express, which you pay even more money for than a regular SD card. I understand the reason why the Switch 2 is compatible with that, but it's still annoying. It's still annoying with the amount of, like, storage that these games take up. So it is just really annoying dealing with these, like, a lot of these games on game keycards, which is why I haven't bought a single one. I am not supporting this practice at all.
It's absolute garbage. But the thing is, I think game keycards will eventually be phased out, because apparently there are smaller cartridge sizes now.
Yeah.
The Toy Story 3 collection, or the Toy Story collection, that's being released on an actual cartridge. So, seeing a game like that release not on a game keycard, it gives me hope.
Yeah, Bubsy 4D is also actually on a cartridge as well, and I think Mouse PI for Hire will, like, be on the cartridge. So it does seem like there's, like, a decent amount of, like, games actually releasing on the cartridges. So I do have hope that, like, more developers will, like, or publishers will start releasing them over time. But I wanted to get into another thing that has definitely been relevant in the Nintendo community, and that is the grifters. Do we care about the grifters still? Do we really think we're still buying into all those YouTubers going, uninstall Mario Kart World, I'm serious? No. We really don't care about them anymore. Like honestly, like, I couldn't care less about what Nintendine is talking about right now. Like, it's really just slop. So I don't really see the reason to get too invested in these and complain about, like, the fact that there's, like, a ton of grifters and a ton of negativity. Like, they're losers anyway, so why should we give them any attention?
It's just like, it's clear what the content is. It capitalizes whenever there's a Nintendo controversy, and the thing is, I'm all for calling out Nintendo, but eventually it becomes to a point where it's, like, excessive and you're trying to think of reasons to, like, criticize. Whereas, like, when I would do it in 2022, there were damn good reasons to criticize Nintendo. But just, like, I don't care about the grifters, but if you're a Nintendo fan, I don't know how you can genuinely say that this isn't, like, at least a good era.
Yeah.
Like, it might not be as good as Switch 1 for you, because I understand that a lot of people just need the 3D Mario, Zelda, the heavy hitters, and I feel like if the Switch 2 had one more, the first year would have been, like, a lot more iconic. It had a lot of great games. Sure, there were a few duds like Shitroid Prime 4 Beyond, but with that being said, a lot of the games are taking risks and doing new things. Like, instead of a 3D Mario game, we got a 3D Donkey Kong game. I think we should actually be grateful for once that Nintendo was willing to take risks rather than doing what's safe from a business perspective. Because you know what happens if they do, like, the safest option? You just get a bunch of remakes, and we don't want that happening.
Yeah.
That's just called Star Fox. But on the other hand, I will say, despite it being a remake of Star Fox 64, I am a huge fan of the art style. And I think it's kind of a game we needed to showcase the full potential of the Switch 2's graphics.
Yeah. And I would say, like, right now, during the Switch 2 era, like, you already mentioned, like, 2022, I would say, I actually prefer the Switch 2 era so far over Nintendo during that weird era between 2020 and 2022. Because it seemed like there was kind of, like, a bit, like, even though Nintendo was doing, like, really well financially, there were, like, a few good games releasing then, like Kirby and the Forgotten Land, Xenoblade Chronicles 3, Metroid Dread, WarioWare Get It Together. Like, at the same time, it did feel like that era was a bit weird. Like, they had, like, a lot of, like, really crappy business practices, like not doing anything about Joy-Con drift, and then releasing games that didn't have a lot of content at launch, or whatever they were doing with Nintendo Switch Sports. It just, like, it felt like Nintendo was farther than the consumer than they ever were during that era. It just felt like it really felt even more corporate than they are today. They still do feel very corporate, but it felt like that 2020, the 2022 era just felt kind of off I would say, for Nintendo. I don't know, like, what it was exactly, but it seemed like their business decisions then were much more, like, justified of, like, criticism, and, like, well, heavy criticism than in scrutiny than now. I mean, yes, they definitely, the criticism and scrutiny definitely is justified for a lot of things nowadays, like $80 games, game key cards, but, like, then it just felt like, I don't know, when the point, like, when you get to a point when even the games are kind of, like, suffering, like Mario Strikers Battle League, and, like, I feel like that's, like, a bit more of an issue, honestly. It just felt they were a little more disconnected. Like, at least now, it feels like they have a constant stream of good games releasing without, like, and that actually fix a lot of the flaws from their previous entries and don't have issues with, like, lacking content and things like that. And, like, I don't know. It just feels like Nintendo is handling things slightly better despite the issues of the Switch 2 and despite the pricing issues.
Yeah, I gotta say, Nintendo was really listening to the feedback that we were giving in the early 2020s, because it's like Mario Tennis Fever corrected all the problems of the Switch Mario sports games. With Donkey Kong Bonanza, they brought back K. Rool and the Kremlings, and also it was like the best way to bring back the series after being dormant for 11 years. Kirby Air Riders bring back a GameCube classic and making it so much better. Yoshi and the Mysterious Book. Yeah, it's not what you'd typically expect, but it's still such a cool game. Nintendo has been doing a great job not only listening to the fans, but just their games have been better than ever.
Yeah.
And while we need more games for me to say it for certain, I could easily see the Switch 2 being my favorite Nintendo generation.
Yeah. And I also wanted to talk about pricing as well, because I think, like, I kind of have mixed feelings in different areas. Like, yeah, $80 games really suck, but I don't think that's gonna be, like, a long-term strategy for them. Like, I feel like Mario Kart World may have actually been the only $80 game that will release on the Switch 2. Like, I don't really see them doing, like, any others unless they, like, try and experiment one more time, like, in some instance, like, maybe the next Zelda game or something, only for it to, like, probably backfire again. That's, like, the only other time I could see them releasing an $80 game. But it turns out that Mario Kart World, outside of the bundle, and I guess bundles, because they're doing another bundle now, it's not selling very well. Like, it's, like, during the final quarter of their fiscal year for 2026, or technically, like, the first quarter of, like, the actual year, it really wasn't selling well. I think it only sold about 600,000, and for Mario Kart, that isn't, and for, like, a game that wasn't even a year old at that point, that wasn't very good. So I feel like Nintendo's definitely gonna reconsider their strategies, and I would say they probably, like, already are, because it seems like they're implementing variable pricing to a degree, since Star Fox and Splatoon Raiders will be $50 digitally, $60 physically, and you can even pre-order it at Walmart for, like, $50. So it's like, it definitely seems like they're improving, and at this point, it seems like they're not even gonna have every release be $70. So I feel like they are gonna treat games a lot better in terms of pricing going forward. I honestly feel like some of these sales humbled them, I would say. I feel like they actually have been humbled at this point.
I would say so too.
Like, Mario Tennis Fever not selling 1 million? Yeah, sure, it's just Mario Tennis, but still, it has Mario in the title and didn't even sell 1 million? I feel like that, like, that definitely sounded some alarm bells for Nintendo. And also, like, the fact that, like, I mean, I do think Bonanza is going to sell pretty well over time, and it is selling pretty well, but I feel like it didn't sell, like, quite as amazingly as they thought, and as well as Kirby Air Riders as well. And I mean, while those are excellent games, and I would say they are selling fairly well, they probably would sell better if they were 60 rather than 70. So, and I kind of understand why Donkey Kong Bonanza is 70, because it is a big game, but I feel like Nintendo is gonna have more, like, $60 or $50 titles sprinkled in with their $70 titles. So I feel like they're actually gonna implement variable pricing to a degree. So it definitely does seem like that first year did kind of humble them a little bit.
Yeah, I would say so too. But overall, I gotta say, in terms of if it was better than 2017, looking back to what I played in 2017, the heavy hitters for me were Breath of the Wild, also Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle, Super Mario Odyssey. The others were mostly like Wii U ports, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. I played a little bit of Splatoon 2. It was an iconic and great year mostly because of Zelda and Super Mario Odyssey, but I feel that the Switch 2, it not only had more, but I would say Mario Kart World and Donkey Kong Bonanza pretty much equate, well, for me at least, to like Zelda and 3D Mario.
Yeah.
So already 2 major games, that's pretty good.
Yeah, and
but the rest of this stuff, we're already getting niche games on top of it. Yeah, I really miss just like the silence in the Switch era where we just waited a year for Smash.
Yeah, I would say Kirby Air Riders is like, even though it's a little more niche, in terms of quality, I would say it's absolutely on par with like the 2017 titles that released for the Switch 1. Like it was like absolutely incredible for me. So it's like, I think like the lineup for the Switch 2 so far has been like, yeah, a bit more niche than the Switch ones, but quality-wise, I would say they're definitely on par. So I'm definitely content with the titles that have released within this first year. I would say it was definitely like a 9 out of 10 lineup, I would say. Like, pretty good overall. If you were to give a rating to it, like, what would you say? Like, I would say for me, 9 out of 10.
I would say 9 out of 10 as well.
But yeah, not absolutely perfect, but pretty good overall. But finally, we're gonna talk a little bit about the hardware of the Switch 2 and our thoughts on that so far, since, like, we've been playing it for so long, we have kind of an idea of how everything works. But in terms of graphics and visuals, the 4K, or in some cases 1440p, visuals look very nice overall. Like, a lot of games handle it really well. Some of the Switch 1 upgrades look really nice, especially like Mario Wonder, which actually fully renders the game in 4K, which was actually kind of surprising because a lot of the time it's just upscaled 4K, but like some games can actually be rendered in 4K, which is pretty impressive. But like the 1440p games and the games upscaled to 4K also look really nice as well, and I feel like DLSS has been implemented pretty well. And no, this DLSS isn't the same as that crappy DLSS 5 that was revealed a while back. This is like actually like the older, more competent versions of DLSS that makes the game look good and run pretty well at the same time. I guess that's like a very simplistic way of putting it. But visually, I've been impressed with the Switch 2 so far. So, how have you been feeling?
It's very impressive. I gotta say, it's very impressive. I felt that way with Kirby Air Riders, but just the more Switch 2 games I play, it's just like, I see potential that wasn't possible on the Switch. And whether it's things like in Donkey Kong Bonanza, just smashing everything, and the game running pretty consistently well, or like, just the graphical power of Star Fox. It's very impressive, and my favorite Nintendo generations usually are the ones that like have a hardware jump. It's impressive to see how Nintendo games evolve, and while the Switch had games that look better than Wii U games, it did still look similar, but now, this is next gen.
Yeah. And on top of that, we got a lot of other features with the Switch 2 as well. Like the magnetic Joy-Cons. I think like the magnets are definitely like underappreciated because it feels so good. Like the click in the Joy-Cons, it feels like so much better than like sliding and clicking the Joy-Cons on. Because I mean, like, after a while, I feel like the rails and like the sides of the Joy-Cons would kind of wear down. But with the magnets, it just feels very nice, and it just feels really satisfying to click them in like that, or click them into the grips. It's definitely pretty satisfying overall.
Yeah, it's so much better than the Switch where you'd have to like slide them in, because over time it's just like, it doesn't feel as stable of a connection, and it does wear out over time. But with the magnets, they're gonna stay magnetic for years to come.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's like hundreds of years until magnets demagnetize.
Yeah,
but it's sturdy.
And if you're somehow like ancient and watching this video thousands of years in the future, you could just replace the magnets and keep going.
Yes.
But yeah, it's like the the magnets work really well, and the connection feels just as strong as it was when I first got my Switch 2 a year ago. Unlike the Switch 1, which felt like a little looser over time. So it's definitely pretty satisfying there. And then on top of that...
I'd also like to talk about, like, the Joy-Con 2 and the build quality of them. Because not only is the size better where they're actually, like, competent controllers, but the build quality just internally is so much better than the original Switch. The reason why there would be Joy-Con drift is because the Switch was rushed to market, and the controllers themselves, I can predict that years from now, the R buttons will start disintegrating because the solder joints will, like, dissolve, and that'll start to be a problem. But with Switch 2, I mean, yeah, it's soldered on, but everything just feels higher quality. Like, throughout Joy-Con customizations I've done, I've had a lot of Joy-Cons break on me. But Joy-Con 2, very, 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 very rare.
Yeah.
And when it happened, it was like when I was starting off, so that's a good sign. And also, the Pro Controller 2 is the best controller ever made.
I still prefer the GameCube controller, but hey! The Switch 2 also has its own GameCube controller as well for NSO. And I've been really enjoying that for Kirby Air Riders and Mario Kart World. So, the Switch 2 basically has everything in terms of controllers. And even some custom controllers too, which, the Meech is very familiar with that, so...
Go get yourself some custom Switch 2 Pro controllers on my Etsy store Gator Garage.
But
They
yeah...
don't have a Virtual Boy controller for the Switch yet, though. That has not happened.
Yeah, I hope they do that. That would be pretty cool. But
I will say one thing before we wrap things up. The GameCube output has been pitiful. We have more Virtual Boy games, I think.
Yeah, that is just kind of disappointing. I would say the lineup has been pretty good so far. I really like that they're delving into like more of the niche, weird GameCube games, like Chibi Robo, Wario World, Pokemon XD Gale Darkness, and then like F-Zero GX and stuff like that. I love the fact that they're going into like the weird games, but we just need more of them. Like, I don't know why it's taking them so long. It's been since March since they've updated it. Like, what is going on here? So I really hope we get more GameCube games soon, but I wanted to talk about a couple more things here. But we also got Game Chat as well, which I would say, even though I haven't used it that much, I have used it a few times. Sometimes it is helpful if I like want to stream and I don't want to have Discord running in the background. It's like that. There's the bit of convenience there. Cool that it has microphone support as well as like the camera as well, which will be used for the Star Fox thing soon. I want to like try out Game Chat like even more like when that happens. But yeah, even though it's like not super necessary, I do like that Game Chat is there. It's like a nice option. Like if like I'm not using Discord or like I just like would rather like just have the console, not like have my phone or my laptop up to me. So it's like it's like slightly convenient sometimes that I do have some friends that do use Game Chat. So and we've used it like occasionally for certain games, but it's like I would say it's a good feature even though it's not necessary for everyone. But we also have backwards compatibility as well, and also like handheld boost, which was added surprisingly late. Like that was weird that it took so long, but like Switch 1 games in handheld look really good now. Like they actually run at the full resolution. Like Thousand Year Door looks great.
Yeah, everything looks great in handheld mode now. With the resolution boost, everything just... it looks as good as it would on the original Switch and TV mode. There's some games that are touchscreen heavy that can't take advantage of it, but it is such a nice feature. And I gotta say, using the original Joy-Cons, it's insane how we put up with those for so many years.
Oh yeah. But I also wanted to talk about like game share as well, and I feel like that was definitely like a surprisingly good feature. We haven't like used it a ton, but we have used it a couple times for like Mario Wonder, because that actually allows you to do like a download play type thing and play with people who don't actually have the game, which is really cool, and I think that's like a great feature overall. I wish more games supported it, but it is a nice thing to have.
Yeah, it's a very nice thing to have. And with the game share, it's really nice when you can just share the game if your friend doesn't have it, like with the download play.
Oh, yeah.
So, overall, Switch 2 has a lot of great features. I do wish it had more personality. It does need apps like Street Pass, but other than that, it's pretty much exactly what I wanted from a Switch 2.
Yeah, and one more thing is also the mouse controls. I think the mouse controls are also surprisingly good. I mean, yeah, it would have been nice if they were used more often, and I wish they had, like, more creative uses, like with, drag and drive. But I've found them to be very useful for, like, certain games, like Mouse PI for Hire and Cyberpunk. Like, it's actually really fun to use the mouse mode in those games. Like, it may be a bit uncomfortable sometimes, though I do think they sell grips for, like, the Joy-Con when using mouse mode, but mouse mode is, like, pretty fun, and it works surprisingly well. So I do hope Nintendo, like, does have, like, some interesting and gimmicky games that use them. Hopefully not a Paper Mario game that has its entire battle system surrounding the mouse mode. Unless it's a Thousand Year Door-like battle system that somehow implements that, but I'd like to see some, like, weird uses of it in more games. But I am enjoying it so far, and I do think it's a good feature.
Yeah, it's not the most comfortable. I don't really tend to use it, but there also haven't been many games where I'd want to use it. I do tend to prefer the Pro Controller with just a gyro, but it's nice to have the feature regardless, and it makes sense. Like, with the Joy-Con design, why not just put a sensor in there for mouse controls?
Yeah, but I think that's most of what we have to say about the Switch 2's first year. Like we said a few times before, like, I would say, like, this is a pretty good first year. Like, I mean, yeah, there were still, like, a few bumps along the way, and it definitely wasn't perfect. Like, there definitely were, like, a few flaws here and there in terms of, like, pricing and game key cards and things like that. But I think that, like, the positives definitely outweigh the negatives here. Like, it's definitely, like, a pretty good year in terms of both output and just, like, things going on in general. So I'm pretty satisfied, honestly, and I'm looking forward to seeing, like, what we'll have in the second year. Like, so far we already know about Star Fox, Splatoon Raiders, and Fire Emblem, which I think is definitely a pretty solid start, but hopefully we'll have, like, even more news and announcements about, like, what we could see in this, like, next year going forward.
Yeah. I just hope we get that Nintendo Direct soon.
Yeah, I think it's pretty likely, considering the fact that most years have a June Direct. So I think we could see some pretty interesting games there. But anyway,
I just hope it happens on the 9th, because he was right!
Yeah. But anyways, hope we get Mario Titan soon. And thank you guys for watching this video. Make sure to go subscribe to Demeech, and make sure to check out my Discord server and Blue Sky if you want to. Stay perky!
And keep calm and da-don.